Act of Gold. The gold rush happened from 1848 to 1854 and was rampant. It started on the Sutter's Mill, and people flocked to California from all corners of the globe. Drawn by the dream of wealth, it was a time of unprecedented migration, opportunity, and change, but also a deep hardship and injustice, especially for those who were already in California and many who came seeking a better life. At first, the gold rush seemed like the promise of fortune for everyone, but while some found wealth, countless others faced immense struggles. Many Anglo-American settlers profited from the booming economy, but Native American communities suffered immensely. Lands that have been sacred and sustained for them for centuries were invaded and exploited. As miners stripped the land, Native communities faced starvation due to the overuse and degradation of their food sources. What was once their home became a wasteland littered and polluted by those in search of riches. Socially, every other race was pushed away besides white people and the said riches that were discriminated against for years to come. The hardships for Native Americans only grew with the passing of the Act for the Government and Protection of Indians in 1850, which had devastating consequences. This law, intended to protect Native Americans, allowed for their exportation and as indentured laborers. Alcohol dependency was forcibly introduced, keeping Native Americans in a cycle of debt and servitude. Many were auctioned as laborers to pay off debts, and when released, they found themselves in high alcohol environments that perpetuated this vicious cycle. With the new act, the Native Americans could be sold off as a slave if they had major debt to a person. At the time, alcohol was high in concentration for them, and the bars, when they would when people would be re-released off of the debt, they'd be sent straight back to the high alcohol place just so they would be back into the system to get cheaper labor for Anglo Americans. With so many people moving to California from across the country and other places, diseases were brought and wiped out many natives. It was said up to 100,000 lived in California before 1848, but only about 30,000 after the gold rush. There was starvation due to inadequate land to farm, and while all this was happening, children were taken from families to become helpers in white families when they were set as inadequate to be fulfilled in their life. The Chinese immigrants came from immigrants came from all over the world, but Chinese immigrants in particular. About 25,000 Chinese immigrants came to Gamsan, which was the Mountain of Gold. Many young Chinese workers in specific came over trying to make enough money to bring their own families to America from the money that they would have found during the gold rush. By the fourth year of the gold rush, in 1852, I believe, Chinese immigrants were the highest percentage of immigration per year. Instead of a giant mountain of gold, Chinese workers were found massive discrimination and were known as coolies. Hard workers that were unskilled but had to endure many hardships with little protection or reward. Meanwhile, immigrants, particularly Chinese laborers, faced formidable obstacles. By 1850, a $20 monthly tax was imposed on foreign miners, an attempt to deter immigrant workers from claiming their share of the gold. This tax forced many to abandon their claims. Others resorted to reworking abandoned areas where they hoped to find any remnants of gold left behind. Many Chinese workers were known to mine lands till there was absolutely nothing left on the land. With limited resources, many Chinese workers innovated by using bamboo sluices and other rigs that they had made up rather than the traditional metal sluices in boxes scouring the land to find every single ounce of gold in a river. While they were driven out of work on the gold or trying to find it, they were there was not always consistent work, but so they were sent to do railroads and road work, which were very demoralizing, and it was said to be like socially a very bad job. Um, their work was dangerous, with countless workers losing their lives in explosions and collapses, yet only a fraction of these deaths were ever truly documented. These workers played a huge crucial role in the railroads in California, along with the 56 and 23-mile road into Yosemite, um, but it did not ever compensate for the amount of risk or rewarded them fairly. It's essential to remember the gold rush for its impact on the many people who came seeking a better life, but also to acknowledge those who paid a steep price. This moment in history reminds us the importance of equity, respect, and the consequence of unchecked ambition. Let us not only honor the resilience of those who suffered, but also strive to create a world where no one must sacrifice their dignity or culture in the pursuit of prosperity. In conclusion, while the California Gold Rush is often remembered as a defining chapter in the pursuit of the American dream, it also serves as a stark reminder of the cost of unchecked ambition. The suffering of Native Americans, the hardships faced by Chinese immigrants, and the exploitation of vulnerable communities were all consequences of this rush for wealth. Today, we can honor the resilience of those who endured these hardships by acknowledging their stories, learning from their sacrifices, and striving to build a more equitable society. Let us ensure that the pursuit of prosperity never again comes at the expense of human dignity, respect, and justice socially.